5-win streak, baby. We don't talk about the loss streak that I had before, but it's okay. We're learning. This is what I'm running so far. Thus far, trying to get more used to the fact that we're playing this deck with the simpler themselves, Vampire Ghost. I've been waiting since the beginning of Master Duel to play this card in Vampires, and it's so good. It makes the deck actually confident. It's unfortunate that we get very hurt by hand traps like Ash Blossom at key points, which we have a lot of. Ends up hurting a lot. Same with Imperm, same with just a lot. So like, you know, of course, having the crossout limit makes it a lot harder for us to be able to defend against those. And another important card for us was the Pot of Prosperity, which would allow us to dig into the deck so we could grab either like the vampire names that we need to make our cards live, or to be able to go into like whatever other combos we need to. Pot of Prosperity was an essential card that having it limited to 1 is unfortunately really detrimental to us, but we replaced that by playing more hand traps so we could bully our opponent going second as well. I think we played like 11 hand traps, and we cope for that. Honestly, I'm half and half between like keeping Glow Bloom so we could do funny Beatrice into sending Glow Bloom on the opponent's turn lines, but I might just replace that with another hand trap so that we have more, because usually a lot of times where you Beatrice into send Glow Bloom, you could just send Baller Drock and switch someone in the standby phase. The only difference is if you don't have any negates present at that point, then it's nice to be able to save the Beatrice for a Glow Bloom so that you're dodging a Call by the Grave by using it on, which they could use on Baller Drock in the standby phase. But otherwise, this is like, you know, this is just like a day one kind of list that I'm running for like Zombie World, Vampire, which is like really fun. It's cracked when it goes first in combos. When it goes second, it's kind of hard to go second. I might honestly replace the Nightmare Phoenix with a Vendread Savior, because there are honestly situations with the amount of like Field Storm we could do with like the little vamps. There are situations where you might just want to go into the Vendread Savior to then send like another zombie during the battle phase to be able to like combo off afterwards. So I think this would probably be more likely what I would play. And otherwise, like the whole idea of this is like Ghost is just like Ghost in any vampire name in your hand essentially lets you guarantee Beatrice setup, which means you could on your turn send Banshee to the graveyard, and on your opponent's turn send either Baller Drock to the graveyard or Glow Bloom to the graveyard, so you could then go ahead and have your Zombie World along with Doom King Baller Drock on the field, so that you could then turn all your monsters and your opponent's monsters into zombies, as well as negating their monster effects, as well as banishing their monsters in a non-targeting fashion, which is really nice, along with having the benefits of the Vampire Engine, which is being able to search other useful cards, such as Retainer being able to search Domination, which is a counter trap, which is really nice, as well as being able to just like swarm the board so you could do crazy link spams. I'm not playing Vampire Fascinator, even though, you know, that's probably sacrilege, but mostly just because I'm more so focusing this on being a go first build. I'm playing some sussy extra deck monsters here, which is just like, I get it, but be patient with me. Let's see if I edited this list just based on initial testing. It might be like taking out Glow Bloom, but again, there's and putting in something like a Effect Veil or another hand trap. There are also like situations where I do generally love Glow Bloom for like, again, when I don't want to get Baller Rock in the graveyard. But yeah, the whole idea of the extra deck is Formula Synchron, you summon it off of Hauki Fibrax, so that you could then go ahead and synchro summon with either Vampire Grace into the Boral of Savage Dragon, or with Doom King Baller Rock into Baron de Fleur on the opponent's turn to have another form of disruption. You usually get Vampire Grace on the field by, of course, getting it to the graveyard after detaching it with Beatrice, because the whole line to get to Beatrice is Ghost, setting up Beatrice in the grave while setting up Shadow Vampire in the hand, allowing you to summon from the deck the Scourge, then summon from the graveyard the Grace, allowing you to then have the level 6. So then when you summon a zombie monster from your graveyard with like a zombie effect, you could then trigger Grace's effect to pay 2,000 life points to special summon itself. So even after you detach it from Beatrice, summoning Baller Drock in multiple fashions, either through Glow Bloom's effect or its own graveyard effect, allows you to then get a Grace on the board, which could be another body for Boral of Savage Dragon. Otherwise, we would just go into the Baron de Fleur. Then we play Beatrice, because that's the whole way we get access into our zombie world. Unfortunately, we can't do any adventure package shenanigans because we need our normal summon. This is a very normal summoner reliant deck. Unfortunately, we can't really get around that fact. Otherwise, this deck would actually be insane. But that's pretty much the whole gist of that. We play Link Karibo because we want to link off Vampire Familiar whenever we want it into the graveyard, or we want to link off Glow Bloom whenever we want to do the same, which is really nice when you summon Glow Bloom off of Hauki Fibrax with Zombie World in the field, so that you can then instantly special summon the Doom King Baller Drock. But it's just also useful because in some janky playlines we will end up linking off Familiar just so we get into the graveyard and special summon it to get its effect off to search for a monster, or sometimes just so we could get a link one in the graveyard so we could then summon a Borderland Savage Dragon on our turn one negate, and then link it off, or rather synchro it off, or link it off if we have IP on the field, or if we're mostly synchro it off after we use the Zombie negate to make it off to do negate number 2 with the Baron de Fleur. And then, of course, we play the Suckers so that we could have another vampire name in the extra deck whenever we have, like, Domination. It's really important for a lot of combo lines specifically because it helps you get certain cards you want in the graveyard, such as, like, when you normal summon Ghost and you use this effect, you then end up linking it off with another body that you have on the field, usually Familiar or Retainer, so you can get Vampire Sucker, which then triggers Ghost effect so that you could banish it to do an additional normal summon of a vampire monster. And then usually what you do there is you tribute the Vampire Sucker so that you could then normal summon the Shadow Vampire to summon the Scourge from the deck, which gives you 2 options at that point, or 2 chains that you have to activate in the precise order, which is to activate both Grace's effect as well as Sucker's effect. So what you want to do is you want to chain link 1 Grace first, and then chain to that the chain link 2 the Vampire Scourge summon, which is going to allow you to summon Sucker from the graveyard. That'll allow you to summon Sucker, and then afterwards you'll have Vampire Grace special summoning from the graveyard, which will allow you to get a draw from Vampire Sucker. Pretty nice, not gonna lie. And then after you overlay both the Grace and the Scourge, you then still have a vampire name to keep Domination live. Veteran Savior just to get some extra stuff. IP Masquerade for boards that are insane, which you could sometimes do that. That's also why I play the Trisbania specifically. If you happen to do the cracked IP Masquerade into like full combo setup with like your Beatrice and your Zombie World into like Baller Drock, then the whole idea is if you're going first and your opponent just like sets 5 pass and like I got this, you go ahead and just IP into Trisbania and chain Beatrice to go ahead and send the Glow Bloom from the deck to the graveyard, and then you chain or add in the next chain, you activate the Glow Bloom to special summon the Baller Drock from the deck. You summon it not where the Trisbania points to, this is because you don't want to have it banished, because it's a good card, but then you'll go ahead and activate the Vampire Grace's effect to special summon from the graveyard, to then special summon in a zone that Trisbania points to, and you banish all your opponent's back row in the end phase, because you could just do that with Beatrice. You could just wait till the end phase to send Glow Bloom to do this whole line. So you could banish all their back row, and then unfortunately you have to banish your own back row as well, so you lose out in your Zombie World, but you still have Trisbania, you still have Baller Drock, and they have nothing, and then you have whatever follow-up you have to just beat the hell out of them. It's hilarious, but it's such a rare combo line, so you could probably just not play it, but I play it because it's cute. I know Barricade Board Blocker is dumb. The only reason I play it is because there are certain situations where you start the duel and you have full combo into Beatrice, but you have either Baller Drock in the hand or you have Necroworld Banshee and you have no way of getting him out of the hand. So in that situation, when we're doing like the typical Vampire Ghost play, usually if we're uninterrupted, we have more than enough resources to be able to do our Beatrice combo while linking off into a Barricade Board Blocker, so we could discard either the 2 we need, so we could make sure they're in the graveyard where they need to be. And of course, the Nightmare Unicorn, Appaloosa, Axis Kotaker, wonderful cards. IP Masquerade makes Unicorn and Appaloosa really strong as well, especially since if you have IP as well as Hockey Fibrax in play, then even if you have no cards in hand, that Formula Synchron will give you a draw, so now you have a card in play. Also, Vampire Sucker also helps get you draws, so that you could guarantee to discard for Nightmare Unicorn. And yeah, other than that, we play as many hand traps as we can, and we really hope for the best. Unizombie can help be a starter for sending certain cards, vampire names into the graveyard, but usually like the full vampire combo with Beatrice into Zombie World using Unizombie requires like 3 to 4 card combos depending on which cards you have. So a lot of times you might just end up going for more janky plays, but when you do have like the combo lines to go into full combo with Unizombie, it allows you to go ahead and end on not just Beatrice, but you also get to end on Borderland Savage Dragon with like Krishan Hockey Fibrax and maybe even an IP Masquerade. It gives you like some of your best end boards and also just helps with like setup. But a lot of times you'll also just use Unizombie to mill like a Necroworld Banshee, and if you're able to get another body on the field, then you can go ahead and go into Hockey Fibrax for some Glow Bloom from the deck, and you're just an absolute winner. It's pretty cute. It's really nice to be able to like use Unizombie's effect to mill like an important piece like Banshee if you want to do that, and then like discarding something like a Vampire Familiar so that you could then use the effect to send another vampire name from your hand to the graveyard, so you could now have 2 bodies on board. You have Hockey Fibrax, and that's full Zombie World combo just a regular way. So I like the deck. It's fun and I love it. It's cute, and this is the best game ever. I love it, and like you never lose to anything, and it's always fair, and And Konami, why the fuck did you do us dirty and make this boy an R rating? Like, I get it. Vampires are super accessible when you go into their engine only. That's fantastic. But whose man's thought that this freaking god of just absolute, I don't even know, because whatever positive word I will use to describe this card will just make me cringe. Okay, I can't. But look at this drip. That's all I'm saying here. Why is this an R rating?